My wife abandoned me and my entire family cut me off without explanation. 20 years later, I appeared successful on TV and discovered I have a 20-year-old daughter. My cousin and ex hid with threats. I'm 44 years old. I'm the CEO of a pretty successful hospitality group, and until a few months ago, I thought I'd left the worst part of my life behind. You know, that dark period where everything went to shit and I had to literally start from zero. But it turns out the past never stays quiet, right? And what I discovered recently basically forced me to rethink my entire life. I mean everything, from my early 20s until now. I guess I should start at the beginning, when I met Laura. Laura and I were high school sweethearts, one of those teenage loves that everyone says won't last, but we were convinced it would. We got married when I was 22, she was 21. And it was a nice wedding, small but nice, with all the family there happy for us. My parents adored Laura. My sister was practically her best friend. And my cousin Eric was always around too because our families were very close. Like we'd see each other every weekend without fail. I was working at an accounting firm back then, nothing special, but I made decent money. And Laura worked at a boutique while finishing her degree. We lived in a small apartment, but it was ours. You know what I mean? We were happy, or at least I thought we were. The first 2 years were good, normal, with the typical fights of any young marriage, but nothing serious. But when we hit our third anniversary, Laura started acting weird. She'd get nervous when I came home early, always had her phone glued to her, and would hide it if I got close. Started going out more often with work friends and would come home late, sometimes smelling like alcohol. I'd ask her what was wrong, and she'd say nothing, that she was stressed about school, that I was paranoid, the typical excuses. Looking back, I should have seen it coming, but at that moment, I still trusted her, still thought we were a team. And then one day I came home from work and found divorce papers on the kitchen table. Just like that, no warning, no conversation, nothing. Laura was sitting there with a serious face and told me, "I need you to sign this. I don't want to be married to you anymore." I just stood there like an idiot with my briefcase still in my hand, trying to process what was happening. I asked her why. What had I done wrong? Was there someone else? Could we go to therapy, whatever it took? She just kept repeating, "There's nothing to talk about. It just doesn't work anymore. I need to move on with my life." She didn't cry, didn't get emotional, nothing. It was like she was talking about canceling a Netflix subscription or something. I signed the papers that same night because she threatened to make it all much more complicated if I didn't, and literally a week later, everything was finalized. It was the fastest divorce I've ever seen in my life. What happened next was even stranger and more painful. I called my parents to tell them. I needed support because I was devastated, and my mom told me coldly, "Your father and I think it's better if we don't see each other for a while. You need space to process this." I told her I didn't understand, that I needed to be with my family, and she just said, "Nathan, please don't make this harder," and hung up. I tried calling my sister and she sent me straight to voicemail. I tried calling my dad and he didn't answer either. I went from having a complete and present family to being completely alone in a matter of days, literally days, and I had no idea why. I went to my parents' house and my dad wouldn't let me in. Told me from the door that it was better if I left, that they couldn't be involved in my problems. I asked him what the hell was going on, if it was because I got divorced, and he just shook his head and closed the door. My sister blocked me everywhere, social media, phone, everything. Even my aunts and uncles stopped answering me, except one who told me in a short message, "I'm sorry, Nathan, but we can't get involved in this. Take care." It was like I'd done something unforgivable. Committed some horrible crime. But I hadn't done anything. Absolutely nothing, other than being a normal husband trying to save his marriage. The next few years were a total nightmare. I fell into a deep depression. Lost my job because I couldn't concentrate. Started drinking too much. Had to move to a cheaper place because I couldn't pay rent. I was 25 years old and felt like my life was already over, that I had no purpose, that nobody loved me. I tried contacting my family probably 100 times during those first years, sent emails, messages, even physical letters, and never got a response. It was like I had died to them, like I'd never existed. What saved me were two college friends who stuck with me, Carlos and Mike. They basically dragged me back to life. They forced me to stop drinking, helped me get temporary jobs, reminded me every day that I was worth something even though I didn't believe it. After like 2 years of being at rock bottom, Carlos said to me, "Do you know how to cook?" And I said, "Yeah. My grandmother taught me when I was a kid." He said, "Let's open a restaurant. I have some money saved. Mike, too. You bring your talent." I thought they were crazy, but I had nothing to lose. Literally nothing. So I agreed. We started with a tiny place, like one of those that almost nobody notices when passing by. But the food was good, honest, made with love. The three of us worked like slaves. I cooked and waited tables. Carlos handled the finances. Mike took care of marketing, which back then was basically handing out flyers on the street and posting on social media. The first months were tough. There were days when we had only 3 customers. But little by little people started coming, then they started coming back, then they started bringing friends. In less than a year, we had to take reservations because we couldn't keep up. We opened a second restaurant 3 years later, then a third, and basically didn't stop. Every place we opened was successful because we maintained the same philosophy: honest food, good service, fair prices. I met my current wife. I'll call her Anna. When I was 34, she was 31, and it was at one of our restaurants where she was having dinner with friends. We started talking, connected immediately, and I realized that for the first time in years, I felt something genuine for someone. I told her my whole story on our third date, expecting her to run away, but she just hugged me and said, "The past is the past. What matters is who you are now." We got married a year later and had our son when I was 36. He's 8 now, and he's the best thing that's happened to me in life, along with Anna. So I kept building the business. Now it's not just restaurants, but boutique hotels, event spaces, a complete hospitality brand. A few months ago, I was invited to an interview on a local TV show about successful entrepreneurs in the region. And honestly, I didn't want to go, but Anna convinced me, saying it was good publicity. I went, talked about how I started from zero, about the importance of resilience, about building something with your own hands. The typical stuff entrepreneurs say in those interviews. I didn't mention anything about my family or Laura, just said I'd gone through difficult times, but had come out ahead with help from good friends. The interview aired on a Tuesday night, and Thursday morning my assistant called me on the intercom saying, "Nathan, there are some people here who say they're your family and want to see you." I froze in my chair because it had been 20 years, 20 complete years, without hearing anything from them. I told her to let them in, and when they entered my office, I almost didn't recognize them. My parents looked old. My mom's hair was completely white. My dad walked with a cane. My sister also looked older, even though she's only 2 years older than me. They stood there like waiting for me to get up and hug them or something. But I just looked at them and said, "What do you want?" My mom started crying and said, "Son, we saw your interview. We're so proud of you. We always knew you'd do great things." I felt my blood boil, like I literally felt heat all over my body from the rage. I told them, "Proud? Seriously? You abandoned me 2 decades ago, didn't even answer when I tried to contact you hundreds of times, and now you show up because you saw me on TV." My sister tried to speak. "Nathan, please let us explain." "It wasn't what you think." I said, "Then explain. You have 5 minutes before I call security." My dad sat down heavily in a chair and said, "Laura made us choose. Said if we wanted to keep seeing our granddaughter, we had to cut off contact with you." I stared at him without understanding and said, "What granddaughter? What are you talking about?" And that's when my mom said through tears, "Laura was pregnant when she divorced you. Had a girl. Well, she's a 20-year-old woman now. And she told us that if we ever contacted you, she'd never let us see her again." The world stopped for me in that moment. I literally felt like I couldn't breathe properly. I said to them, "You're telling me I have a 20-year-old daughter and you never told me? You let me suffer alone for 2 decades because Laura threatened you." My sister said, "Nathan, it wasn't that simple." Who had a big family business, was going to destroy us economically if we said anything. Dad worked for him back then. We had no choice. That's when everything clicked like a horrible puzzle. Laura had had an affair with my cousin Eric, got pregnant, divorced me, probably because the baby wasn't mine or because she was already with him. And between the two of them, they'd manipulated my entire family to abandon me. I asked them if the girl was mine or Eric's, and my mom said, "According to the dates, probably yours," but they never let us do tests. Laura married Eric a month after the divorce. I got up from my chair, walked to the door, and told my assistant to call security. My parents started begging. "Nathan, please, we wanted to protect you. We thought it was better if you didn't know. We wanted to come back into your life, but didn't know how." I told them, "You had 20 years to tell me the truth. 20 years where you chose every day not to contact me. Every Christmas, every birthday, every important moment of my life passed without you, and it was your decision. Now get out of my office and my life." Security arrived and literally escorted them out while my mom cried, and my dad tried to give me a card with his number. I threw the card in the trash as soon as they left. During the following weeks, they tried to contact me everywhere. Emails, calls, messages. They even went to one of my restaurants, but the staff had instructions not to let them in. Anna asked me what I was going to do, and I told her nothing. That they had made their choice 2 decades ago and I was making mine now. But the thing about my daughter wouldn't let me sleep. Honestly, I'd stay awake at night thinking that there was a 20-year-old person in the world who was possibly my daughter and knew nothing about me, or worse. Laura had probably told her lies about me. After like a month of turning it over in my mind, I hired a private investigator to find information about her. He got me her name, where she lived in another state, like 6 hours from here, her Instagram, her Facebook, everything. She looked like me. Had my eyes, my nose, and I spent hours looking at her photos, trying to find pieces of me in her. Finally, I gathered the courage and sent her a message on Instagram, something simple like, "I know this is going to sound strange, but I think I might be your biological father. I'd like to talk to you if you're willing. No pressure." I honestly didn't expect a response, thought she'd block me or ignore me. 2 weeks later, 2 weeks that felt eternal, she responded. It said, "I've known about you my whole life. My mom always said you were a bad man who abandoned us. But a few years ago I found the divorce papers and the dates didn't match her story. I've wanted to contact you but didn't know how to find you. I saw your interview too." I responded immediately, telling her the complete truth, about the divorce, about how my family abandoned me, about my uncle's threat, everything. She took a day to respond, but when she did, she said, "Can I ask my mom some things to confirm? If everything is true, I'd like to meet you." Another week passed and she wrote me again. I talked to my mom. At first she denied everything, but when I confronted her with evidence, she'd found old emails and stuff like that, she admitted the affair with Eric. She says she's not sure who my biological father is, but the dates indicate it's probably you. I'm angry with her right now. Could we meet? We coordinated a weekend. I flew with Anna, and my sonny explained everything to him beforehand, obviously to the state where she carred lives, and we met at a neutral cafe. It was weird, very weird, to be sitting across from this person who could be my daughter but who was a complete stranger. We talked for hours. I showed her photos of when I was a kid. She showed me photos of her childhood. We talked about interests, about experiences, about her life with Laura and Eric, which apparently wasn't as perfect as Laura wanted to make it seem. I offered to get a paternity test and she agreed. The results took like 2 weeks but confirmed what we already knew. She was my daughter, 99.9% genetic match. I'm not going to lie. It was very emotional for both of us. She cried. I cried. Anna cried. Even my 8-year-old son cried, even though he probably didn't fully understand what was happening. I told her I didn't expect her to call me dad or for us to have a traditional father-daughter relationship right away, that we could go step by step, get to know each other as people first. She appreciated that and said she needed time to process everything, that her world had been completely turned upside down, discovering that everything she'd been told was a lie. It's been 3 months since that first meeting, and we talk regularly now. She came to visit us last month, and it was nice to see her interact with her half-brother. She taught him to play video games, and he was fascinated with his older sister. She says she's put distance between herself and Laura, and basically doesn't talk to Eric. That she now sees him for what he really is, the guy who destroyed my marriage and then helped build an entire web of lies to keep me away. I still don't know how I'm supposed to feel about having lost 20 years of her life. There's anger there, a lot of anger. But there's also something like relief, because I finally know the complete truth. My parents keep trying to contact me from time to time, but I ignore them. I don't owe them anything after what they did. And my daughter understands that. She herself has told them she can't. Forgive them for keeping her away from me. Yesterday, my daughter sent me a message saying, "Thank you for not giving up on finding me. I know this is weird and complicated, but I'm happy to finally know you." And I guess that's enough for now. Like, I don't need everything to be perfect or to be resolved quickly. I just need to know there's a chance to build something genuine with her. Something that Laura, Eric, and my parents tried to take from me, but in the end couldn't completely destroy.